It's wonderful to be here and to was asked to speak a little bit about my dear friend and great community leader, Tony Plakas. And as I was thinking about my remarks today, I kept going back and hearkening back to this memory I had when I was very young, when I ended up camping in Colorado. And it was a beautiful and spectacular August night. And it was the meteor showers that overtook the sky. And in that moment, I knew that I was watching a force of nature and something so magical. And that, Tony, is so much of the course of our past 20 years. So Tony and I met around the same time. We started as CEOs together. He was a young man, and he rocked my world. He was so razor sharp, smart, fast-talking, full of superhero myths, a lot of tomes of non and fiction that he would read, and he would weave that all into this spectacular vision of how he and his staff and his board was going to transform the community, the LGBTQ community, into a community that was mainstream and would be able to stand in pride without fear of discrimination to combat the scourge of HIV. And just his boldness and just inspired me. So time passes on, and of course they put the gay guy with the women's rights woman in all the events that you can imagine. And here we are, usually sitting next to each other, and what I was also taken aback by was the deep understanding that Tony had about the intersectionality of our movement. He powerfully knew that a woman's right to decide whether she's going to share her body with either a pregnancy or a lover was her right. And that those principles were deeply rooted in that of the movement for the LGBTQ people, not only in Palm Beach County, throughout the nation. So that fact that he used his bully pulpit, he used his opportunity to weave these missions together, was potent in creating not only ally partnerships between the two of us in terms of programming and the kinds of goals and the kinds of staff that we've been able to bring to our communities through our organizations, but also to the kind of commitment he's had in building the next generation of leaders and creating safe space for the LGBTQ community. So I was immensely bowled over by the next unfolding of Tony's leadership when we served on Towards a More Perfect Union together, where the next part of the stool was fleshed out, where Tony became not only a leader in the movements of women's rights and of the lesbian and gay community, but also as it related to the issues of race and how the issues for brown and black people were also central to the work that we do together in building a healthy democracy. So Tony, to you, I just have been inspired by the trajectory of what you have built here at Compass in collaboration with some of the most exceptional staff that I know and I respect. You have a board par none. They are just amazing, and the kind of respect that you garner among your peers. I can harken back to Tana Evely, Olivia Serrano, who's here with us from the years ago, and it's wonderful to see you here, Olivia, and Scott from the United Way. We were well grew up together in this community, but you've helped build such a healthier place for us, not just here in Palm Beach County, but in Florida and throughout the nation. So whether you are in a march alongside in Washington, D.C., fighting on behalf of women's rights, whether you're out defending at Mona's clinic, protecting patients, whether you're here convening a forum with hundreds of people on race, whether you are championing the issues for lesbians and gays and transgendered people through creating this magnificent organization, which is indeed a beacon not only for the gay community, but also for all of us in our community. We are just so proud of you, and I'm so proud to be your friend. I love you very much.
Okay. Can everybody hear me? There's something I have to say before I officially start what I want to say. And that is, for some reason, I can memorize 150 episodes of Paw Patrol thanks to my 3-year-old daughter. But for some reason, I cannot memorize 65 words to honor my friend of 15 years. So please, I apologize ahead of time that I'll be looking down at my phone. For someone who felt he didn't have or deserve a future, Tony's been instrumental in helping the LGBT community locally and beyond to not feel ashamed in our authenticity, embarrassed of our humanity, or rejected by others' insecurities. In other words, he's assured a future for himself, his loved ones, and thousands of people during his 20-year tenure. He did this by assuring all people had access to and received quality and life-saving social services, maintaining a beautiful community center for us to call home, and conducting countless hours of outreach and trainings. He didn't do this by himself, though. He empowered all of us by making us believe we are all superheroes by virtue of being human and caring about the world we live in. And of course, with the immense help and love from his husband, Jamie, who's been by his side for as long as Tony's been taking care of us. Commitment and passion, these are 2 words that made Compass and its leader, Tony. So what do you say to a real-life superhero? You say, thank you. Thank you for your tireless efforts, your guidance, and most of all, for your commitment and passion. I can't wait to see what the next 20 years brings.
I'm Greek, so I talk with my hands. I can't hold a microphone. First of all, I would love to meet this Tony guy. He sounds freaking awesome. Thank you for everything that you have said. I think what I wanted to come up here and say is that the people in this room have helped to bring over 20 years, $25 million worth of services to the LGBT community. That is a very rare thing. Be it Children's Services Council or the United Way or community services from Palm Beach County, private donations. We have done something that few communities can say that they did in this country and in the world. What I wanted to kind of tell you about is a journey that I had personally. My brother's sitting here, so he's going to know exactly where I'm going with this. But I grew up in a teacher's household. My dad was a teacher, my uncle, my grandfather. And not only was it a teacher household, but he was a football coach and an athletic director. And when you're from small town Pennsylvania, that means that he was a god. When you grow up in a household with a teacher, other teachers know who you are before you get to their classroom. And they go a little bit extra to invest in you, to make you feel important. I don't know if it's because they want to, let your parent know that they're a good teacher. I don't know if they do it because they're young and they're impressionable, even though you're much younger. But I remember throughout my entire high school career that I felt invested in. When I walked through the halls, I felt invested in. I felt as though teachers talked to me like I was an adult. They talked to me like I had a future. And they really filled me with pride. And then don't get me started about what you're taught as a Greek person. I mean, Greek pride is hey, the founders of modern civilization, you walk around with a really strong feeling of purpose. And so I took that with me when I went to college, and I felt that same sense of pride. When I walked around campus, for whatever reason, I felt like I was drawn to teachers in a very different way. That mentoring felt not only natural, but something that I was entitled to, and something that that all people were entitled to. And I felt like I was always in an environment where people were investing in me. They were making me better. They were giving me feedback. They were pushing me forward. And so my dream to go to the Centers for Disease Control in Washington, D.C. came true. And I couldn't wait to get to Washington because I knew when I got there, everybody was going to invest in me. Wrong. First of all, we're going to get away from the environment of Washington for a moment. And I'm not even going to tell you what it was like in 1997 or 96 or 95 when they were talking about the Defense of Marriage Act and they were demonizing gays and lesbians. I'm not even going to talk about the way I felt when I was at the Centers for Disease Control, where I thought, if I'm working in the HIV Bureau, I'm not going to experience homophobia. I'm going to talk about the fact that there was this void of investment. It was just gone. It didn't feel like anybody had any reason to teach me anything. They didn't have any reason to invest in me because they didn't think I had a future. It felt that way. It felt that way with everything I saw on TV. It felt that way with every person I interacted with. And for a year, I endured something that I had never endured in my entire life, and that was this complete absence of investment. And it was so dark and so ugly and so horrible that I could not stay. I just had to go. I don't know if I actually thought that I was going to have HIV, but I definitely felt like a pariah. I certainly didn't feel like people wanted to teach me or coach me or mentor me. And so I moved to Palm Beach County and I applied everywhere. Everywhere in where I thought that my experience would work. And the very first place that I came to was Compass. And I mean it when I say what I'm about to say, but the moment I opened the doors, like the very first person I saw was Lisa McWhorter. And I didn't know it at the time. I said to her, I'm here for an appointment with the executive director. I have an interview. And she said, you know, I'll be with you in just a moment. And she continued to vacuum the floor. And so, like 10 minutes later, I'm looking at my watch thinking, the executive director has to get out here. I don't want to be late. Like, where is she? And so I got up the courage to walk up to her and say, I really have an appointment at 10 with the exec. Do you mind? Because she didn't go to the phone to tell anybody that I was there or anything. She's like, oh no, come on, let's go. And I just knew in that moment that I was at a place where people wanted to take care of the community. It just felt like it from top to bottom. And so very quickly, I got the job actually on the spot, not out of anything other than pure necessity, because I had $800 in my account and I had not found a place to live, and they seemed like they were interested in me. And when they gave me the, we'll give you a call in a few weeks, I told them that I didn't have a few weeks, that if they were interested, I needed to know, because I needed to know where I was going to live. And so she hired me on the spot. And slowly but surely, as I was introduced to the community, as I met people at the Department of Health, at the Children's Services Council, the United Way, Scott Badish, Tana Evely, Lillian, Tamayo, I started to feel a sense of investment again. And it didn't hit me until that moment how deprived I felt as a human being, as an individual on the planet, without an investment for that year that I was in Washington, D.C. I no longer felt like the oldest brother. I didn't feel like the president of a fraternity. I didn't feel like anything special that I had done meant anything. And I got to a community where all of a sudden everybody was introducing me to everyone to make a difference, investing in me. And then I met Jamie. And in those few early months, he and I would talk a lot about our experience going from college into the real world and what it felt like. And it started to become clear that I was actually living the same privilege that I had been living when I was young, and that I wasn't actually sharing that privilege with everyone else. That I was getting lucky once again to have people around me that were willing to invest in me, but that I was in a position that not a lot of people were in. And so when it became time for Lisa to move to her next adventure, and the board had to search to see what they wanted to do, they asked me if I wanted to run a community center. And it was in those early days that I realized that I had to figure out a way to share what people were investing in me with other people who needed to feel that same investment, so that they could reach their highest potential, so they could be everything that they were meant to be. Because if anybody grows up in a world devoid of investment, what can you possibly expect from them? It should be a human right for people to invest in every young person and make them believe they can be all they can be. And that includes people living with HIV. That includes people who are transgender. That includes people who are young, old, brown, black, white. Every single person should have the same level of investment from the people around them. That's what makes us a community, and that's what makes Compass Community Center. I am so thankful to everybody in this room. And I need to let you know that before we had a Compass, I had people that were investing in me like Lillian and Rand and Dan. And I'll tell you something, the night that I became executive director, Rand said to me, "I'll let you keep the job as long as you're doing it." If anybody knows Rand, he wasn't kidding. So the fact that I can be here after 20 years, and I know that all of you are here supporting me, makes me feel like I've done a great job. But I want to tell you, the greatest job has been watching the people come in this building as volunteers, as staff members, and leave this building empowered, feeling invested in, and feeling like a part of the community. And it wouldn't be possible without every single person in this room. Thank you very much, and I love you all.